Imagine for a moment the perfect action figure. It should be able to pose like a human, but still do some wacky things that humans can't do. It could probably be re-engineered, disassembled, reassembled into many different things you would want. Almost like a Stickfaz or Zevos to a very extreme extent. The figure that you're probably thinking of today is a Stikbones, which is what we will be covering in this video on this continuation of a series where I look at animation and posing toys or something, I don't know. Yeah, Stikbones are pretty cool. They're very articulated. Definitely less of a toy than the previous enhancements on this list. Why did I say enhancements? The interesting part about Stikbones is that they're a lot more quote-unquote professional. They are intended for more commercial use, you could say. Now, from my research, it seems like that the whole Stikbones thing started off between a partnership between GKN Additive, or Forecast 3D as we will be referring to them in this video, which they're basically like this California-based 3D printing and metal working, kind of metal printing studio, which produces a bunch of like, they 3D print them. So with Stikbones, they wanted to create a figure that could be posed very well and used for reference sketches, all that stuff, but also a lower cost, more sort of efficient, and kind of just in general funner figure that could be used instead of like armatures for stop motions. So in 2016, which once again, why was there such a push for stop motion toys in 2015? With the build and animate stuff, it's weird. Anyway, so an Indiegogo has started to raise money, and it raised a lot of money, and very fast. Which I think is pretty cool, and as we'll see, it's just cool that people have interest in this. Now, going to the figures, initially 2 versions released, a blue version and a dark gray or black version. I think both of these are really good starting colors for the line, and it's just like the blue one is like this really cool lapis one, which is it's kind of like those like old paintings that had like they ground up lapis to get the color. It's like a really good color. The blue one I also associate with Stikbones almost like a mascot for the company, and interestingly enough, it actually was pretty much only available throughout like 2016, maybe 2017, I think, but then eventually it got re-released a couple times, but in very, very limited quantities. They eventually released a bunch of other colors, which in my research, apparently a lot of people really hated. It seems like a lot of people were turned away because of like this weird multicolor, almost like test dummy look. It's a little odd, I guess, but like the feet kind of it's really not that bad. I don't know why so many people didn't really like them. It's very weird. It seems like a lot of people wanted more abstract colors, kind of like purple, which we'll get into later on, but like kind of more almost stickbot like stuff. Now we're going to be mainly talking about stop motion stuff because this is stop motion channels. We're not going to be talking about posing. But yeah, they're pretty good. You know, they have a lot of they have some videos. But these were mainly like early adopters, like Sticky Note Studios right here, who made this amazing Combat Dojo movie. You should watch it. It's very epic. Awesome fight. So these videos are really good, but there weren't too many early adopters, I'd say. And by early, I mean like pretty much for 3 years, there weren't as much content as you would expect with something like Stikbots or Bots or something. Once again, because it's more professional, they're probably being used more behind the scenes, or once again, more for like artistry, more posing, drawing, less animation. But there are still those occasional really good movies and stuff. I think where this toy really shines is with rotoscoping. Rotoscoping, in short, is essentially just drawing over actual movements to make it look like something like it's an easier way to do animation, sort of. It can be a true pain in the ass. I mean, it is awful. You have to like draw each frame, and it has to be it's horrible. With that being said, I know this is a very biased opinion, but I think stop motion rotoscoping is a lot harder than 2D, because you could technically just draw like a little stick figure for each frame, still very difficult, but you know, it's just a stick figure. When you're rotoscoping with stop motion, you have to physically like you have to think in like 3 dimensions. It's really weird. But with Stikbones, it's a lot easier because of how like realistic they are to a human, which a lot of other toys can't really accomplish. Now, going back to the armature, one of my favorite examples of a Stikbones armature is Mood-Truded ZX Productions. I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry, but he makes amazing Mega Blocks and all Bionicle videos, and he made this amazing custom, which combines, like, it's just this really, it's a good example of what the armature could be using Stikbones. Now, there aren't really too many Stikbones content creators, you could say. There are people like Cactus Animation who create these phenomenal videos like this, where they're the perfect example of what the Stikbones could, and it's amazing. But there aren't like consistently major films being made with them, probably because of how hard, they're much harder, and it's just more time consuming to animate with them. So if there were to be a channel which were focused on these guys, which I've seen a couple, they're mainly usually just tests that get uploaded every now and then, but they will eventually stop uploading. Kind of like a lot of those Stikbot YouTube channels where they'll make a video or two and they'll be really good animators, but eventually they'll just stop due to time or interest or whatever. So sadly, there isn't too much consistent like content being made from content creators that is specifically targeted towards Stikkybones, sort of similar to what Modibai experienced a couple of years ago. It also doesn't help that they're kind of expensive. I mean, these are amazing deals for like, stop motion armatures and all this stuff. But comparing this to a Modibot, which is like $10, you can kind of see why one would take over more than the other. Now, something that I want to talk about for a minute is that the price of these guys is usually about $70 to $80, which I think is pretty fair. Something, though, to note is how they're always on sale. Like, literally, they rely on always being on sale. They always market it. If you subscribe to them on their email and stuff, you will always get promotions about how they're always on sale for 40 up until like 90% off. The thing is, though, that where they're located in California, it's actually illegal to have something always on sale. Because it's false advertising. You're essentially you're pushing the consumer, buy this because it's on sale. You're saving money, that kind of stuff. Now, do I consider Stikkybones to be scamming you? No. Are they doing anything illegal? No. If I had to guess, they probably list it for like a day at 1:30, then the next day they'll put the price down or something to avoid this. But it's definitely weird and kind of sketchy for a really professional company, and I just find this kind of odd. I would really like them to make a statement on this because I've found not really anybody commenting on this. I'm no legal expert, so I really don't know, but I just felt the need to point this out. Now, onto the actual figure and my impressions of it. I won't be discussing articulation because that's what everyone else is talking about, and it's just like, it's very obvious, it's very good. Starting off, I really like the box that it comes with. Sorry for the 9x16. Yeah, it's a very high quality box. It's deluxe and luxurious, and I store some of my Stikbot accessories in it. It comes with a very fun metal plate, which I love because these guys have magnets and you can stick it to the bottom of their feet. I love magnets for stop motion. It's just supposed to be like a stupid one-off joke, but this prototype Stikbot, when I slammed my desk, the other version literally fell. Watch this. Down and landed, sticking onto the surface. I kid you not. This is so real. The hands also have magnets on them, which is very convenient for holding iFixit jimmies. I don't know why I put that there, but yeah. The fingers are also very posable and also very tiny. There isn't really a way to get around this, but they're overall just kind of weird. They're just finicky and they fall off really easily like the one just did. They are less than ideal. Fingers are already complicated enough on our palms of our hands. Putting that on a tiny palm of a hand, it's just never going to work. This is always going to be finicky, and it's always going to look a little weird because of the way they had to design it, and blah, blah, blah. Speaking of which, I put him in a really dapper outfit, as you can see, and you may be wondering why. Well, personally, while I do like the standard Stikkybones look, there's just something off about the abs section and it just looks weird to me. So I thought I should go try buy some clothes for it because I see a lot of people making their own clothes and stuff for these guys, and I thought it'd be kind of interesting, and it is definitely going to be a kind of big part of this video for some of you, I think. Okay, now bear with me for a moment. A Stikkybones is a little more than 8 inches tall, making it about 1/9 to 1/8 scale, meaning that for accessories and clothing you have pretty much 2 options. You have companies like NECA, which produce very high quality well, okay, they've gone down a bit, but the clothing is very high quality and usually made out of the real materials that the real life counterpart would use. And they're very good, they're awesome, but they can be a little more expensive sometimes. Then you have companies like Mego who produce these figures, which they haven't really changed the design since the 70s, and these are actually used by Robot Chicken, fun fact. And they produce clothes which are usually of lower quality, but because they've been around for so long and they have all these IPs and they mainly rely off of like brands and all this stuff, they have a lot of stuff like clothing to work with. Unlike 1/6 scale or even 1/12 scale, it's just generally hard to find clothing for these action figures, which really sucks, and this is kind of one of the downsides of Stikkybones, in my opinion, sadly. But you still can find them, such as classic TV toys. If you've been in the action figure game for a while, you probably recognize them for their custom heads. Yeah. And they have probably the largest selection of 8-inch action figure clothes and accessories in the entire world. I mean, it literally looks like an iceberg chart when I zoom out. It is so massive. So yeah, you can buy from them. They mainly have a lot of Mego stuff, which I was talking about earlier, and it's just overall a very diverse selection. I think they're really fair prices, but it can kind of stack up. So if you're going to buy this, especially with shipping, I would recommend buying a lot. In total, I probably bought like 10 pieces of clothing, and at the end of it, it was a little over $40, which I think is pretty fair. But I was thinking I'd probably buy more Stikkybones in the future, and if so, then I don't need to buy clothes for them. So overall, I'd recommend buying from them, no matter the cost. Now, I hear you say from the rooftops, Clay, this is absolutely great, and we love your videos, but I need big, heavy pieces of metal. Well, have I got the thing for you? Without getting into any of the hobby grade, toy grade, whatever, RC stuff, one of the more popular scales for RC is 1/10, which is pretty much 1/9. So these guys are a little big for it, but it essentially works. So now your Stikbones can drive a car, and because it's usually RC, that means the car can actually move, which is a pretty fun fact. So overall, I love these guys, and I can't recommend them enough. They're very fun, very great, awesome. One thing I will say though is that even with all these websites and RC stuff that's proper scaling, it can still be pretty hard to find stuff that fits these guys' scale, and you're gonna have to build bigger sets. And you know, it's just kind of how it is, sadly. What I think would be really cool though is if they released a smaller version, a tiny Stikbones, a 5 to 6 inch Stikbones, a 1/12 scale Stikbones. This could fit all these scenarios. Even if it was like slightly lower quality, I think that would sell super well. It would be amazing for animations. It would be like incredible. He could play with the Modibot. It's very adorable, very fun. I think a 1/12 scale, 5 to 6 inch Stikbones would be incredible and like one of the greatest things put on the earth. Now let's go back to some Stikbones lore for a moment. So a little over a year ago, Stikbones announced that they were going public, which is a very big thing for the small stop-motion posing community, and it was just overall a big deal because depending on how this went, this could maybe possibly shape the way for how a company like Zing would approach it because they're still a private company. Anyway, according to this possibly inaccurate website, it started off at $2.49 a share, which I don't really know if that's good or bad for this because this doesn't really happen. That was the minimum investment you could put in. The whole thing started on March 14th, and I was expecting it to work like a normal stock where it just kind of stays public, but I guess it went private on April 30th, 2023, which it didn't make me sad at all. And then they got 61 backers or investors, which is pretty cool. And maybe they all got a limited edition Stikbones. That'd be kind of fun. So while this was all happening, I asked Stikbones on Instagram if they have a Discord because I think it'd just be really good for this toy and just be the final evolution of it and just be very convenient and nice. And they said no, but they had considered it. Maybe, I don't remember. They weren't aware of if there was a fan one or something, but there could be out there. Maybe like there's a couple people. I don't know. Kind of interesting. But I would assume that, so back then they wouldn't be able to do it because, they were still getting all the stock stuff set up. But I think it would be a really good option for them to create a Discord server, kind of like the Stikbot one, but probably a bit more art focused, artsy, posing, like drawing focused. I don't know. I think that'd be really cool, and that would be the final step. But overall, I really like these guys. Sorry for the abrupt ending, but I don't really know where to go with these guys. I guess this is really like the first time we've taken a look at a figure on this series that really isn't dead or over yet. I mean, we've looked at Stickfaz, if you count that video as that one. We've looked at the stop motion Crayola thingy and the Posums, and this is like the most active one. I mean, they're still making new colors. So yeah, I think that there's hope in this toy. I just think it could be a little more polished. Like, for instance, not like kind of clarifying, are these things really 50% off every single week or whatever? Like, it's just, there's some stuff that they need to clear up, and a Discord server or a subreddit or something to have everyone meet around would definitely improve it. Kind of also what Modibot needs. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next one. Suggest some new animation toys in the comments because we are possibly running out of them, but don't worry, we'll find more, maybe. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next one. Bye.